Like when I say we moved so fast, like we moved. It's like we knew we didn't have a lot of time. We moved so fast, like we moved so fast.
But even though the courts had made their decision, people on the streets started talking. There were rumors that the story didn't end there. People began to question who was really behind everything that happened. While Murd3r and his son might have carried out the robbery and shooting, some believed that someone else might have been the mastermind behind it all. That's where Big U and Luce Cannon come into the picture. Big U is a well-known figure in the streets of Los Angeles. He is tied to a lot of street politics and has a reputation for controlling things behind the scenes. There have long been rumors about his influence, with some people believing that he is the one who decides who gets to come into the city and who doesn't. Some even say that he has the power to handle situations if people don't follow the rules. One of the biggest rules in the streets of LA is the idea of checking in. When a rapper or artist comes into town, they're expected to check in with someone local, usually a person like Big U. The idea is that you show respect to the local figure and make sure you are safe while you are in town. If you don't check in, it can make you a target. PnBRock, however, was someone who didn't believe in the idea of checking in. He openly said in interviews that he didn't need to follow that rule, and he didn't like to live in fear. He didn't move around with bodyguards, and he didn't think he should have to live by street rules just because he was in LA. Unfortunately, not checking in may have made him a target. According to some people in the streets, Big U and others were not happy with PnBRock's decision not to check in. Some even suggested that they saw this as disrespectful. And things got even messier when Luce Cannon, someone who used to be close to Big U, started speaking publicly. He said things that made people believe that Big U might have been involved in the situation in some way. Luce Cannon claimed that he and Big U were actually at the scene when PnBRock was shot. This raised a lot of eyebrows, and people began to question whether the whole thing was a setup. Was PnBRock really just a victim of a random robbery, or was there something deeper at play? Luce Cannon continued to make bold claims about Big U, even accusing him of being involved in illegal activities and working with the police. As the story continued to unfold, Stephanie, PnBRock's girlfriend, finally spoke out. She had kept quiet for 2 years, holding in all the pain and trauma from the day she lost her boyfriend. But with all the new information coming to light, she couldn't stay silent any longer. She shared her side of the story, describing the deep emotional impact of what she witnessed. Stephanie revealed that after PnBRock's death, she was treated like a suspect, even though she was the victim. She explained how she was dragged out of the restaurant, blocked from getting into the ambulance, and interrogated all night while still in shock from losing her boyfriend. This only added to the mystery surrounding PnBRock's death and made people question whether there was more to the story than what the public was told.
Heard was the victim, along with a female witness, were in this area eating at a restaurant.
But this was not just a simple robbery. It was much worse. The person who came inside the restaurant did not just take PnBRock's jewelry and leave. No, he shot PnBRock many times, right there in front of Stephanie and everyone else who was sitting in the restaurant. It was a very scary and painful moment. Later, Stephanie wrote a message on Instagram that made many people cry. She shared how PnBRock saved her life. She said, "My man saved my life. He threw me under the table. I am not supposed to be here, but because of him, I am." That was his last act of love. He used his last breath to protect the woman he loved. After some time, the police arrested a man named Murd3r and his teenage son. People said Freddie had sent his 17-year-old son into the restaurant to rob PnBRock. And that young boy was the one who pulled the trigger. The court said this was all planned before. They said the father and son worked together to steal the jewelry. In August 2024, Freddie was found guilty. He was charged with first-degree murder, robbery, and conspiracy. He was given a sentence of 31 years to life in prison. So, it looked like the case was over. The court gave the punishment, and many people thought everything was finished. But no, the story was not over. Because on the streets, people were saying something else. Many believed that Freddie and his son were not the only ones involved. They believed someone bigger was behind the whole thing. This is when people started talking about two names, Big U and Luce Cannon. Now, Big U is not a small name in Los Angeles. He has been connected to street life for many years. People say he has a lot of power and control behind the scenes. Some people believe that Big U decides who can move safely in the city and who will face trouble if they do not follow his rules. In Los Angeles, there is something called the check-in. It means when rappers or artists come to LA, they're expected to talk to someone local, like a leader or big name, to stay safe. It is not written anywhere, but everyone knows it. If someone refuses to check in, it can lead to serious problems. PnBRock spoke about this. He said he did not believe in checking in. He moved alone. He did not use security, and he did not want to live in fear. He said his girlfriend was scared to wear her ring outside. He even said the streets of LA felt like the video game Grand Theft Auto. That is how dangerous it felt to him. He once said, "People are targets out here. They tried me before, but I was always careful. I know how the streets work." But even after all that, people believe that because he refused to check in, some people saw him as an easy target. Others felt like he was showing disrespect. Then something shocking happened. In early 2024, a video came out that surprised everyone. Luce Cannon was on a podcast, talking without any fear. He said some things that made people stop and listen. He said that he and Big U were there at the restaurant when PnBRock was killed. People were shocked. Who would say something like that? Why would someone place themselves at the scene of a crime? In that same podcast, Luce Cannon also said more things about Big U. He said Big U was giving guns to gangs. He said Big U was writing down the serial numbers and giving information to the police. He even said Big U had a deal with the police to report crimes. Luce Cannon was calling him a snitch and an informant in front of everyone.
And it was those two that were responsible for the death of PnB. And the whole setup was just to steal all his...
Luce Cannon's own twin brother came forward not long after and tried to take back everything. His name is Jermaine Williams. He spoke on another podcast and said his brother was lying. He said Luce was just saying these things to get attention. He said a lot of what Luce said never even happened. But here's the strange part. Even if Luce was making things up, why would he say that he and Big U were standing right there when PnBRock got killed? That is not something small. That is not something you say unless you are trying to start trouble, throw blame, or get people talking. And that is exactly what happened. Then something even bigger happened. Big U, who kept saying that he had nothing to do with PnBRock's case, suddenly got named in a big court case. It was a RICO indictment. The police said Big U was involved in many serious crimes like violence, stealing, threats, and even murder. They said he was a leader in organized street crime. Now, PnBRock's name was not written in those court papers, but the timing felt too close. The police came just a few months after Luce Cannon said all that on the podcast. People online started to look back at old interviews. They started to connect the dots. They began to say, wait a second. Something is not right. And then, finally, someone we had not heard from spoke out. Stephanie, PnBRock's girlfriend. She was sitting right next to him when he was shot. For 2 whole years, she kept her pain inside. She never spoke about what happened. But now, after all the rumors, Luce Cannon's podcast, and Big U's court case, she could not stay silent anymore. She wrote a post on Instagram, and it touched many people. It was full of emotion. She gave us a new look into what really happened behind the scenes. Stephanie said that after PnBRock was shot, the police did not treat her like someone who just lost a loved one. They treated her like a suspect. They dragged her out of the restaurant. They would not let her ride in the ambulance. They would not let her go to the hospital with him. Instead, they kept her and questioned her all night. She was still in shock. She was still hoping he was alive. And while she was going through all that pain, people online were blaming her. They said she was the reason he got shot because she posted a photo showing where they were. But let us be honest. That post showed a plate of food. It did not show her, and it did not show PnBRock. Even if the post gave away their location, it does not mean she was part of anything wrong. She loved him. And the most painful part? Stephanie said she was the last person to find out he had died. Nobody told her. She was left alone in a room, crying, holding on to hope, thinking he was still alive. The police even took her phone away. They made her feel like she was the one being investigated. All this happened to a woman who had just lost the man she loved. That is not fair. That is not right. But Stephanie did not stop there. She also told us about the kind of man PnBRock was becoming before he died. She said he was focused on family. He was working on himself. He wanted to grow, to be a better person, and he was becoming more spiritual. She said he was kind, patient, and full of love. On the last day they spent together, she looked him in the eyes and said, "I know you are my husband. I know you are my soulmate." Now he is gone. So this is not just a story about a robbery. It is not just a random crime. This is something much deeper. When you add Luce Cannon's wild words, Big U's sudden arrest, and Stephanie's emotional truth, it all starts to look different. And there is one more thing. For a long time, people have whispered about Big U's name being connected to another huge tragedy, the death of Nipsey Hussle. The police say Eric Holder pulled the trigger, and he is now in prison. But people who know the street say there was tension between Nipsey and Big U for a long time. And if we look closely, what happened to Nipsey feels very similar to what happened to PnB Rock. Nipsey had problems with Big U. Then he was killed. It happened fast. It was shocking. And many people have been quiet ever since, too scared to speak. Now look at PnB Rock. He came to Los Angeles. He did not check in with anyone. He was living free, doing his thing. Then suddenly, he was set up. His location was known. His jewelry was taken. And then he was gone. People say the plan was to rob him, then later offer to help him get his jewelry back, but only if he paid. And who would be the one to make that deal? Someone like Big U, someone with deep street ties. It is an old trick. Take the stuff, then act like you can return it for a price. But this time, something went wrong. Very wrong. And PnB Rock never got the chance to come back from it. That is when everything took a sharp turn. Some people believe that maybe PnB Rock tried to reach for a weapon during the robbery. Others think that the robbers just got scared and panicked. Whatever really happened, it was not the usual plan. It was not just a quick grab and go. It turned deadly. This was not just about stealing jewelry anymore. It became something much bigger. And ever since that day, the streets have not stopped talking about it. There were whispers going around. People were saying things like, "Do not worry, we will get the jewelry back. Just check in with the right people." They claimed to know every pawn shop. They said they knew the people who melt gold and diamonds. And they promised that the moment the jewelry showed up, they would find it and return it. But by then, it was too late. A life had already been taken. And just when it felt like the story could not get any more messy, Luce Cannon kept adding more fuel to the fire. After he and Big U had a falling out, everything changed. They used to be close, like brothers. But now, all of that has fallen apart. And Luce Cannon? He has been speaking out nonstop ever since. He even started calling Big U Big Useless, saying things to ruin his name. He is out here telling secrets, throwing shade, and revealing things that many people never thought would come to light.
Scumbag stuff. He sick the police on Nipsey. He act like, oh, it was just
The whole rap community is watching what is happening right now, and many people are still in disbelief. Some are saying, we knew something was wrong all along. Now that Stephanie, PnB Rock's girlfriend, has finally spoken out, Luce Cannon is speaking recklessly, and Big U is facing serious charges from the federal government. This is no longer just rumors or gossip. This is real. And what makes it even more unsettling is that it's making other rappers feel even more unsafe. If someone as famous as PnB Rock can be taken down just because he did not check in with the right people, what does that mean for up-and-coming artists trying to make their mark in the industry? There is a lot coming out right now. Luce Cannon is calling Big U Big Useless and spilling details about things that many people did not know. Stephanie is sharing the painful story of what she experienced when she lost PnB Rock, and now Big U is facing major federal charges, including a RICO charge. This makes it clear that the story is far from finished. There is still much more to uncover, and things are only getting messier. This entire situation has opened up a new conversation, one that has people wondering just how deep the politics in Los Angeles really run, especially in the rap scene. It seems that in the LA rap scene, there is a system in place based on fear, control, and hidden rules. People are being told who they should trust, who they need to check in with, and what will happen if they do not follow the rules. If what people are saying is true, then PnBRock was not just a random target in a robbery gone wrong. His death might have been more than just a senseless act of violence. He could have been used as an example, a warning for others in the rap community. The idea of checking in is a huge part of the system. In Los Angeles, many rappers, especially those who come from other places, are expected to check in with people who have control or influence in the streets. Big U is one of these people. He is seen as a powerful figure in the rap world and the streets of LA. If someone does not check in with him or others like him, it can make them a target. This unspoken rule has been around for a long time, and many people believe it keeps them safe while they are in town. But it also creates a dangerous situation for artists who may not want to live by these rules. PnBRock was one of those artists who refused to play by these street rules. He didn't believe in the idea of checking in. He felt that as an artist, he should be able to move around freely without having to answer to anyone. He did not believe in the system that people like Big U are a part of. This may have made him a target for those who believe that everyone, especially famous people, should respect the street rules and check in when they come to town. Now, with everything that has come to light, people are questioning whether PnBRock's death was part of a bigger plan, one that was meant to send a message to other artists. The timing of it all is troubling. After Luce Cannon's statements and Stephanie's emotional reveal, along with Big U's federal charges, it seems like there is much more to this story than what we initially thought. PnBRock might not have been the only target. If this situation is really about control, intimidation, and power, then it may have been about sending a warning to everyone else in the industry. It's clear that the rap world in Los Angeles operates differently than many people might think. The lines between street politics, music, and business can be blurred. The system seems to be set up in a way that makes sure certain people have the power to control others. This system can be dangerous for anyone who steps out of line or refuses to follow the unspoken rules. For artists who are just starting their careers, or those who are not connected to the right people, this can create a feeling of fear and uncertainty. If you do not check in or follow the rules, it seems like you might be putting your career and even your life at risk. With everything that is happening right now, people are starting to question whether PnBRock's death was just a random act of violence or if it was part of a larger plan. Many people are wondering if he was meant to be an example, showing what happens to those who do not follow the rules. As more details come out, the truth may become clearer, but right now, it seems like the story is far from over. The situation has also raised important questions about how deep the politics in the LA rap scene really go. Is it possible that the violence and drama are part of a bigger game? If the stories being told are true, PnBRock may have paid the price for refusing to participate in that system. This story has made many people in the rap community look at their own safety and what they are willing to risk to make it in the industry. With the charges against Big U, Luce Cannon's claims, and Stephanie's brave decision to speak out, the situation is becoming more complex. What started as a tragedy has now turned into a bigger conversation about power, control, and survival in the rap world. It is clear that PnBRock's death was more than just a random act of violence, and the investigation into what happened will likely continue to reveal more shocking details. Do you think PnBRock was really set up by the people who were supposed to protect him? Is this connected to what happened to Nipsey Hussle? And did Luce Cannon tell the truth, or was he just trying to ruin Big U's reputation? Will the full truth about Big U and his possible connection to both PnBRock and Nipsey ever come out? Let us talk about it. Share your thoughts in the comments because this story is getting more attention every day. If you have made it this far, thank you. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss what is coming next. The next chapter of the story is about to get even crazier.